My name is Charlotte, reading the review of Castle Swimmer Season 1, Chapter 1 by Wendy Lian Martin, as written by Dominica. Viewers be warned, this entire video is riddled with spoilers. Just a little introduction to what I do for those who do not know. I love reading. I love movies, I love TV shows and plays, video games, comics, you name it. I love stories, no matter how they're told. I have opinions regarding everything I read and watch and listen to that comes my way. I've always searched for a way to get my thoughts out there for the world to know. I want everyone to know my feelings, suffer where I suffer, love where I love, adore where I adore, explore where I explore. It's when we look through one another's eyes that we are most likely to see something that's been right before us all along, but perhaps in a way you've never imagined. So thank you guys for tuning into this premiere episode, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Let's dive right into this. Castle Swimmer is written by a young woman from Iowa named, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Wendy Lian Martin. She has the cutest little dog named Squid, and if memory serves, she worked or works as a waitress. Castle Swimmer has been on Webtoon since January 5th of 2019. Its summary reads, what happens when your entire life is ruled by a prophecy? Your future foretold by people you've never met, who died long before you were born. Such is the story of two young sea creatures. One believed to be a guiding light for his people, a beacon who will lead them to a bright, prosperous future. The other is a teenage prince whose destiny is to kill the beacon so that his own people might thrive. When both reject the course set for them, it leads to a raucous adventure as big and unpredictable as the ocean itself, and a romance that nobody could have predicted. You can read this for free on Webtoon and support Wendy by purchasing fast passes for the comic, becoming a patron on her Patreon, and following her on various other social media accounts, which you can also find on the Castle Swimmer's Webtoon page. Now, I've read the first season of this series and a little bit into the second, and I loved it. But that was months and months ago, where life wound up getting in the way. Hospital visits, family tragedies, workplace drama, moving out, all of that. So my memory has faded a bit on all the intimate details of the storyline. I just remember absolutely adoring all of the creatures involved and the amazing writing talent that Wendy had. I don't want to spoil too much about why I loved it and why it deserves the entire world's attention just yet. We're going to start with Chapter 1 and take it bit by bit so we hit all the marks I'd like to. This series is still ongoing, so I can't do a whole review of the comic itself, but once I go through this chapter by chapter, I'll do a Season 1 review summarizing the story and the characters and plotline as a whole. I discovered Castle Swimmer from an advertisement on a YouTube video, and hello, two mermen stuck in a forbidden love tale and the most adorable drawing style with realistic facial expressions in a beautifully developed underwater world. Sign me up! I was beside myself excited. Now, Chosen One stories have always fascinated me, most likely stemming from my childhood history of Harry Potter.
Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me, not Hermione, you.
Simon Snow reinforced this love, and my recent adoration for the role of the Chosen One that Jesus plays in the Bible.
Are you, or are you not, the Messiah?
I am. And soon you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of God.
How dare you speak his name!
Now, he used his title and influence for the betterment of the world, even if he, Harry, and Simon were made into some sort of enemy of someone or something because of it.
The charge is blasphemy. He deserves to die!
When you start reading Castle Swimmer, it begins at Kappa's birth into this world from this little fish egg-like thingy, and immediately I was taken by the drawing style and the vibrancy of the color choices, from Kappa's color scheme to the ocean and the water and sand and fish around him. I found out after reading most of the series and following Wendy on her Tumblr that Kappa is named after the Japanese mythological creature, which is a yokai demon, like an imp with a humanoid shape, a turtle-like shell and a depression on its head which carries water. It weakens if that water is dried up or spilled. They're known as tricksters and troublemakers. They like cucumbers and sumo wrestling and attack humans in water by removing their souls from their butts. One of the easiest ways my Japanese teacher back in high school explained that you can defeat this creature, who is apparently obsessed with politeness despite drowning people, raping women, and anally seizing their soul out of their body, is to bow to them so they'll bow back and spill the water out of their head dish. If you refill it, they serve you for eternity, but apparently they're good at bone setting, medicine, making irrigation for land, and bringing in fresh fish for villages, so I guess all can be forgiven. The first spoken line is just so profound. Welcome to existence, little Mer. It made me wonder, where did this baby come from, and what made him so special that the god of the surface had to inform him, bestow him with his destiny of being the beacon? Immediately, though, that descends a ton of pressure onto this young child when he's told that he's a light that shines for others. What about shining for himself? How on earth is that fair? What about his wants and needs? Will he ever be allowed to pursue what he wants in life? Maybe in between doing what everyone else wants from him? He was just a little boy, and such a heavy, heavy fate to be given. To be told that his free will is practically non-existent, because he's only useful when he's serving others. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not anything that I'd want for myself, or even to give to my worst enemies. It was a relief when the god of the surface let Kappa know that he would be guiding him to his destinations. Like, just means, sorry, but don't worry, you won't be able to just walk away from this, I won't let you. Now, I love Kappa. He's my favorite character so far up to where I've read, and being able to break down the series like this, talking about him and Siren, who we will meet later on, is definitely going to open up a huge understanding of them and their roles and exactly the weight that's placed on them. I couldn't do what Kappa is told to do. I would sob. But when it's all you've grown up knowing, it's not unfamiliar to know your purpose is to serve others. You're not missing out on anything because you don't know what anything else feels like. You don't know how it feels to indulge your own passions. To be told the world is waiting for you when you're that young, of course you're going to do what you're told. You haven't learned right from wrong or boundaries or putting your foot down, tail fin down. You're just going to trust the one person that's telling you, don't worry, you should be doing this, it is okay. But none of that serious stuff takes away from how adorable Kappa is, with his little school of fish following him, exploring the ocean, this wonderful world that Wendy made. The fish even protect Kappa from accidentally harming himself. They make sure he can eat properly, which I think is just so cute. He does have a big destiny and he's got to give himself nutrition. Let's be real here. Then, when we get to the destination of his first prophecy, you begin to see just how the whole thing works. The invisible force that drags Kappa from place to place like a slave. He sees the castle, briefly acknowledges it before continuing to do what he wanted to do, which is dig in the sand. I mean, who doesn't want to dig in the sand? But the force was like, absolutely not. And yanks him away, physically yanks him away. That brings Kappa to his first castle. First beings we meet, aside from Kappa and his fishy friends, the Moorish idols, which I'm pretty sure is the same fish species as Gil from Finding Nemo.
Nobody touched it.
I love how Kappa is the only koi fish, and his shiny tail is indicative of his status as the prophesized beacon. Everybody has a prophecy for him, just like the god of the surface said, and already Kappa has to deal with his very first ever prophecy fulfillment. I was like, this poor boy gets 2 minutes of life to himself, and immediately he's expected to start upholding this weighty job given only to him. So into the castle he's escorted, only to be surrounded by a ton of fish with expectations who are so beside themselves to see Kappa, who has no choice but to stay there and attempt whatever they want from him, or if he tries to get away, he'll just be pulled right back. To be told that your arrival has been waited for centuries? What kind of pressure are you bestowing upon him? Doesn't anyone bother to look into his perspective? Put yourself in his shoes, Fins? It's hard, it's stressful, and he's a kid. He's just a baby still. Of course, when you're waiting for that long for your prophecy's fulfillment, all that sentimental nonsense goes by the wayside. He's getting showered in compliments, so beautiful, so exciting. And you know what? He is beautiful and it is exciting. These prophecies have Kappa in the species of whatever castle the prophecy belongs to. Their prophecy has Kappa as a Moorish idol, so they're asking where his headfin is and thought he'd be bigger. Listen, he's a koi and a baby. Go easy on him. But of course, they won't. The Moorish idols explain their prophecy, passed down for generations. The beacon is to bless the castle with brilliant yellow flowers that heal their wounds and grant immortality. And so our poor little unknowing beacon just studies the mural painted on the ground until the force guides him upwards, while the Moorish idolfish discuss how eager they are for their dreams to come true. I would be thinking to myself at this point, what if I mess this up? I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. They're expecting something from me, and what if I can't give them anything? Or what if I do, and it's just not what they wanted, and they get mad at me? What do people do to the beacon when he messes up? When he makes a mistake? I loved their queen's reaction for the chatty fish to shut up. The beacon is doing something. Just a bit of comedy that's thrown in there, so perfectly timed. I'm sure you all know the saying that when it comes to humor, timing is everything, and there's one thing I've learned from this series, and that Wendy is so good at that timing. Up Kappa goes towards this bulbous thing hanging from their ceiling, and he just smacks it. The force guides him to whatever he needs to interact with, a person or an object, so I was like, what is he doing? All of the Moorish idols were elated, overjoyed to see what on earth with this magical little koi fish was going to bring about to their little humdrum, hopeful lives. So out of the bulbous orb thing, blue light explodes and showers down upon the smiling fish of the castle, who probably feel blessed already, just seeing the majesty of such a small miracle. Their flowers grow, Kappa seemingly having done the job, and all of the Moorish idols relish in their newfound immortality, granted from these yellow flowers. Even Kappa himself is all smiles, which is honestly so wholesome, and I was like, yes, go Kappa! I love you already, you are so perfect, and I want you to have all the success in the entire world. But the flowers weren't yellow, they were blue. Immediately you know something is wrong, and the Moorish idols were not happy, which is understandable because why? Why would the prophecy come somewhat true instead of 100% true? One of the fish comments that the blue flowers weren't eternal, and that just got me thinking that maybe your hopes and dreams accidentally get altered the prophecy over time, and maybe Kappa was just supposed to make flowers. But no, they immediately hyperfixated, which is understandable because expectations that you've focused on and mulled over and studied for years does that. They hyperfixated on it being a mistake and the wrong flowers. Maybe you were wrong, maybe you misread your own prophecy. They asked Kappa to fix the flowers. Naturally, step 1, identify the problem. Step 2, identify the solution. Flowers are blue, not yellow. Command the almighty beacon to just snap his webbed fingers and make the healing, immortalizing blue flowers yellow. This, of course, just adds more weight and stress to Kappa, asking why he did it, telling him he did it wrong, fix it, why didn't he do it right, the flowers are wrong. I just burst out sobbing. My first attempt ever, not even truly understanding how the whole job description works, and you want to critique and dissect attempt number 1? Like, he was a seasoned, weather-worn beacon with millions of fulfilled prophecies behind him with explanations of their possible abnormalities. So when Kappa began crying, I sympathized instantly. How dare they? He tried his best. Your expectations were just too unrealistic. He wouldn't know yet. Rightfully so, Kappa swims his cute little behind right out of the castle and away from those demanding Moorish idolfish. First prophecy fulfillment? A success? Well, yes and no. Flowers? Check. Healing and immortalizing flowers? They didn't bother to find out. Maybe the color was irrelevant and they were just too quick to judge. The queen tries to stop our emotional Kappa from escaping their confounded clutches, abandoning the fish in their blue-flowered strewn chamber. It honestly looked very beautiful, and they were ungrateful. So then you have terrified little Kappa in the big blue and scary wide open ocean, clutching his heart, and as someone with anxiety, that is the worst. Thinking you can do such a thing to someone who's as inexperienced and unknowing as him. Wendy does an amazing job of portraying in these panels how alone and isolating this title makes Kappa. Not only from other fish in the sea just like him, but from the one person who should have provided him with any sort of answer or comfort, the god of the surface. Kappa asks the god, why were the flowers the wrong color? Did he do something wrong? And my heart nearly broke at how easy it was to relate to him. Those would be my thoughts. Why weren't the results as expected and intended? Was it something I did? And how can I prevent this from happening again in the future? You know what, Kappa? You didn't do anything wrong. You were dealt a difficult hand and you were all alone, thrusted with the most important destiny the ocean holds. Some things are just not as they seem, and it is entirely unrelated to you. Like fish and other creatures perhaps misreading their prophecies and altering their expectations because there was no one to correct them. No one to tell them exactly what you were intended to provide for them. And that is okay. You are okay. But the god of the surface did not tell him this. The god of the surface did not answer Kappa at all. And when you had one single source of comfort and limited information that is suddenly cut off from you, turning their back on you, silencing themselves to you, offering absolutely nothing in the struggles you face, that is numbing. That is soul-crushing. And you can see the horror in Kappa's eyes. You can see the gaping hole of hopelessness, universal servantry widening, destined to become him, with only the dream of one day establishing freedom, keeping him from falling entirely apart. It ends with Kappa proclaiming to the empty darkness of the ocean above him, "I don't want to be the beacon. I do not envy your position. No matter how good at it you may become, no matter how much of yourself and your personality and the dreams you retain throughout your struggles in your coming future of life, I do not envy your non-consensual sacrifices." That is the wonderful first chapter of this breathtaking series, and I urge each and every one of you to read and support Wendy for not only her vast and encompassing array of inclusivity and representation, but for the topics she covers and the trauma in our everyday lives as humans that this comic portrays so perfectly in these charming sea creatures. Some questions this left me with include, what made the god of the surface choose Kappa? Did he know Kappa could handle it, or does he just expect him to regardless? How many castles are there in the ocean? And are there underwater towns and cities, or just castles? Are we ever going to meet Kappa's parents? Does he even have any? Does Kappa begin to get into the rhythm of being the beacon, able to distinguish what he's meant to do in a particular scenario without needing the guiding force to assist him? Or is it just a constant tug of war? Go here, do this, go there, do that. Once he reaches his teenage years, how will he grow into his role? Or how will he even get away from it? Will he ever want to be the beacon, even if it's just for a few moments? Hopefully, throughout this series, these questions and more are answered. I can't wait to explore more. Coming up in this series, there is a perfect balance of comedy and romance and action and adventure, and I myself am beyond thrilled to be able to review, to jot down all of my endless thoughts for the things that I find in this life that I absolutely adore. If you are interested in a coverage of Chapter 2 of Castle Swimmer Season 1, please let me know. You can find me and support me on Patreon and on Ko-fi, on Instagram, DeviantArt, Twitter, Tumblr, almost anywhere. I will also be posting a link to Webtoon so you can start reading now. Thank you guys so very much for coming on this adventure with me, and I hope to receive your feedback and see you soon. Next time, we will be going over Robert Frost's poem, Birches. For future works that I will be announcing later on, if there are any questions you'd like me to answer, drop me it with a Ko-fi on my Ko-fi page. Just remember, no spoilers. If it isn't something I can answer, by just reading the chapter, episode, or part that I'm on, please don't ask. I won't be able to answer it. I also have a line of my very own natural homemade products that you can purchase through my official site. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Thank you guys again. It means the entire world to me.